Jealousy is part of the human condition. At one point or the other, we've all been jealous of somebody or something. Did you know it robs your joy and it's best to kick jealousy out of your life? Welcome to the Rewired Gamer, episode 6.
I hope our fans are ready for a wild ride. Juggernaut or not, we're here to kick some ass.
If you say you just can't take any more, all you're really saying is I just don't want to go any higher.
Failure is not the opposite of success. It's only part of it.
And you kept fighting, and you kept fighting, and you kept fighting. That's all I ask from you guys ever.
Welcome back to the Rewired Gamer. We're on episode 6. I think I got all our settings ready, Ronnie. I think we're going to be good to go.
We're good, baby.
We're good. Now, I always want to listen to what people are saying in the comments, and people hit me up in my Discord channel and on Twitter, asking us to discuss things. And this week someone said, I'd really like an episode on jealousy. And that stuck with me. And, I thought the show's all about rewiring our brains, about thinking different, about doing better in the gaming community, regardless of what our role in that community is. We entitled this episode, Jealousy Robs Your Joy. And I think it's going to be a really good one for people to look in the mirror. The people that have the courage to sit down and watch these episodes and really think about their own lives and their own improvement, I think this is going to be really good.
Yeah, anytime you're going for something in life, I think it's easy to say, well, I'm not enough right where I'm at. And it's really easy to then take what you see, all these images being bombarded at you, like pushed at you through social media and marketing, advertising, everything. And that's the first thing that you see. And so if you're ever in a place where most of us are a lot saying, hey, there's somewhere else I want to get to, you have this feeling that comes from that, but then you see all these images of where you think everybody else is because they're broadcasting their highlight reel. And that starts this just downward spiral. And so we want to be really careful of where we're putting our focus and our mind. And so this is going to be just a great episode, because I can tell you when I first started out in my endeavors, I wish somebody would have told me, hey, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You get focused on you, so this is going to be good, but I'm excited to share some stuff and just do what we do here.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. Title of today's episode is Jealousy Robs Your Joy. Well, to begin with, we need to discuss, what is jealousy, and why, what is this thing we're talking about? And then we're going to get into, kind of the effects of this kind of thinking, and some action steps for hopefully, starting to kick jealousy out of your life in general. The first bullet point I have down here under our first pillar of jealousy is wanting what someone else has. It's sourced in resentment, the lens of not enough. You want to walk us through that for a minute?
Yeah. So when you think about, jealousy, and you look at, let's say, what it is, it's looking at what somebody else has and feeling like, they have something you don't have, or they have something that belongs to you. And so if you think you're supposed to be so far along and you're not, and you see somebody else that looks like they may be a little further along, you start to resent that. And I think jealousy is a feeling that's a lot like anger. It's just kind of dressed up in a different way. It's like you're pissed off because you're somewhere that you think you're not supposed to be yet, or you should have already been by now somewhere different, and you find it in someone else. And so they become the target of this frustration that you have of where you're at. Because if you looked at where you were as it's absolutely enough, and you were okay with that, you wouldn't resent anybody. You would just celebrate where they're at. And so it's a really subtle, simple kind of a thing. But if you don't understand really what it is and how it shows up, and really what the source of jealousy, really where it's at in you, then there's going to be a natural tendency to go, well, they must be doing better than me, so that means I should shame myself. And anytime you beat yourself down, you don't feel good. And when you don't feel good, you tend to look at people through the lens of where you're at, and it's never a good place. And so, but I think it's a relatively subtle shift in perspective, but I think it's one of those that if you can get right earlier on in your life, you can enjoy the journey much more of climbing to the top and getting to where you want to go, without feeling like you got to tear somebody else down because you're pissed off at you. So
yeah, and it can pop up in a lot of different ways, right? It could be a spot on the team you want to be on. It could be a job you want. It could be a girl you want. It could be a car you want. It could be a computer part that you want. I mean, with social media being so prevalent in today's society, everyone's always sharing every win. Like, hey, I got a new video card for my computer, or hey, I got the new Xbox, or, you know, hey, I got on this new team, or hey, I got promoted, or whatever it is that you kind of want in your life. If you see other people getting those things, your first kind of temptation or first kind of thing you could fall into is jealousy, and it's resenting the fact that someone has something that you find attractive, that you want in your life, and you feel you don't have it, and then you start dwelling on that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're projecting onto somebody that whatever it is that you want that they have, that it means the same to them that it would mean to you.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like you're looking, you know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. Like you were saying, it might be the girl that you want. It's like, oh, I want that person. You know, you see that on television. Like there's a celebrity, like it used to be remember the TV show Baywatch with Pamela Anderson?
Right.
Like she was like, then it was Carmen Electra. Some of these older people, some of these younger people might not know who they are. But anyway, it was, you see these people and everybody's like, oh man, everybody would want a girl like that. And it's like, yeah, well, maybe not.
Maybe
but
not.
You know what I mean? You project what you think about a person onto someone else. And then it may not necessarily be true. And so there's all sorts of things that go on behind the scenes, and all we see is surface. So we see what it means to us. We don't know what it means to somebody else, because somebody else may have the car or the position. Like you talking about a job. I mean, I want that job. You don't know what's going on with that job.
Right.
You think you know what's going on with that job. You think you know what's going on with owning that car. It's nice to get that car till you got to make that first payment. Right. And then it's like, oh, heck, this is real. So I think we got to be really, really aware that maybe everything doesn't represent what we think it represents. And that we've got to just be okay with building who we are and reaching for things through a lens of there's plenty of opportunities out there to create that and have that. But what I really got to do is I got to look at myself. Like you said earlier, it's like people that have the courage to watch an episode like this and really start to do the work. That's where things, that's where really things tend to find their value. Is like once you've worked hard for something and then you're like, oh, I can buy this now. You start to realize that maybe once you have the money to buy it, you may not want it. Right. You know what I mean? Like I've done that before, save the money, like work hard, save the money, go buy. I mean, I got some nice car. I'm a nice car driving guy. I've had some, very expensive cars, but it's like, you want to go get it. And then it's like the moment you realize you can get it, you're like,
is it really
do I really want to put this? Yeah. Do I want to put this money down on this car? Cause then it's like, I got this and then it's depreciating. And then it's like, I'm putting this money that I have that I can put into other things to make me money. And then you start weighing all this stuff. And then you start to realize that maybe things aren't what you think they are. Maybe there's a lot more complexity and facets and levels to it. And I think as long as you can look at it from that standpoint, then you go, okay, I'm not going to project onto this. I'm just going to work hard at what I need to work hard on and trust the process. And so that's so much of it, but this will be.
So we've got jealousy is built in scarcity and nourished in negativity.
Yep.
I think that's really good.
So if there's enough sunshine for everybody, which there is, then I don't get to hate on somebody who has a great tan. Do you understand what I mean? Because there's enough sunshine for everybody. So if it's built in scarcity, it's like, well, there's just not enough opportunities out there. And so got that one opportunity and that's it.
Yep,
but as you get older, is that scarcity, it's lack. It's like, there's not enough. And when you're operating from a lens of scarcity, man, you all you're really thinking about is that thing, what it's going to mean to you and how you have to have it or else. And that's really not the case, man.
Yep.
Like it's not an or else kind of thing here. This is more of a, if I develop myself and create the space for it, it's going to show up. The universe rewards hard work and smart work. And if I'll do that, I can trust the process that I'm going to reap from what I sow, like we talked about last episode.
Yep.
And that's more of an abundance mindset. And I have found, this is just my experience, Jay, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Right.
And if I work hard, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if I work hard, it's like, it used to be like chasing people down to be like, man, look, I want to go do that. And there's a time for that. But then there's a
Right.
part where it's like, oh my gosh, like, these things that you sow these good seeds, they start to catch up with you. And then you're like, what you used to chase down and be desperate for, you're kind of wondering if you even want. And you're like, I don't even know if I want to do that. There's so much out there. So that's just a part of doing the work, trusting the process, man.
And nourished in negativity, rather than celebrating the successes of others, rather than celebrating what other people in their journey have been able to obtain, or jobs that been able to land, or girlfriend, boyfriend they've been able to partner up with. The idea of jealousy is really nourished in negativity and kind of like, who am I competing with, right?
Yeah. Everybody's heard the quote, man. You're not competing with anybody. You're just competing with who you were yesterday. And that's very true. I think when I took ownership of that very thing, I started focusing on who I could become. And when I started becoming better, really better in anything that I was doing, when I started managing my time better, when I started making more money, right, doing better, working smarter, not just harder, when I started doing that, man, like I became more positive that I had to put good energy into things. And instead of hating on, people, and we call them secret haters.
Right.
These are people that just
Right.
don't have the capacity. They don't know how to celebrate you anyway. So it's like, don't worry about what other people do or don't do. It's like, don't worry about that. You be who you choose to be, and be it in good times and in bad times. You choose to be it. Don't change who you are because somebody else decides to be an a-hole and isn't nice to you. That means they control you. Like, I've thought of this so many times. It's like, if I decide I'm going to be loyal, I'm going to be a friend, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be authentic. If I decide that's who I'm going to be, and then somebody does something to me and I go, oh, they should have done it, and it changes me, then they've controlled me, and I'm not giving anybody that. That's negativity, dude. I am positive about who it is I want to be. And, I'm positive I want to be a positive person. I'm not positive that I want to be a negative person.
Right.
But you know what I mean? I'm positive about that. And negativity sucks, man. Nobody wants to be around a negative person. And if you hate on people pick up on that stuff, man.
Absolutely. And like a lot of things we discuss on this show, there is a cost and benefit, right? Like, ironically, there's actually a benefit to being a generally jealous person. As insane as that sounds, what's the benefit?
Oh man, I get to put myself up on the pedestal. So it's like, if I'm jealous of somebody else and I think, oh, I should have that. And it's like, should you have it? Because if you should have it, I already deserve. Yeah, but deserving it, I deserve it already. Like, it's almost entitlement.
Right.
Like, I should have that. Well, maybe not. Maybe, you think you should have, the career that, one of the greats has. It's like, did you put in the hundreds of thousands of hours in? You haven't done that. So don't compare to them. That's the whole thing, where it's an ego trip. The benefit is that I get to project myself of being greater than I already am. And my focus is all ego. It's not about serving the outcome that I want. It's not about serving the goal. It's about upholding something of trying to project who I am. Look at me. Look what I got. And look where I should have, and all that. And just become a negative, just hater because you're not where you think you're supposed to be. It's a huge ego trip. Like, you can be disciplined and feed the self-discipline without feeding the ego.
Right.
And that's really what one of the benefits of jealousy is. It's like you thinking you're supposed to be somewhere that you're not already. And if you're supposed to be there, you'll get there by working your butt off to get there. There's nothing else. It's not more complicated than that.
Now, what's the cost of being generally kind of jealous and just stewing in this negativity where you're going through Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and looking at people, and everyone seems to kind of have the things in life that you want, and you just always kind of focused on that, and you struggle with jealousy. You look at your friends from high school or college and like, why do they have this? We graduated the same year, and you just kind of spin it in this stew of negativity. Like, what's the cost of something like that?
All right, so Jay, here you go. So let's say you're looking at what somebody else has done or created or achieved so far. It's like pulling up to a gas station, right? Because it's all energy. It's energy that you put in. Focus is where you put your energy, right? Like, it's where you direct your energy to. And it's like sitting at a gas station. You pull your car up and somebody else pulls up in a car that you think is nicer than yours, that you're hating on because you don't have that car yet, right? It's like taking the gas pump, swiping the card, getting the nozzle, and instead of putting it in your car, you fill up their gas tank. You're putting the energy in the wrong freaking place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is what it does. What does it cost us? It costs us life energy. Dude, time is the exchange, man. If I'm sitting here scrolling, watching whoever the dude is that you're saying, like, I couldn't tell, I'll be honest with you, dude, I couldn't tell you what any of the people from my high school are doing. I mean,
Right.
I'm just being honest. Like, I could care less. I decided a long time ago, I was like, dude, I'm not staying in this town. I love you people, but I'm out.
Yeah.
Like I went on and I started doing what I needed to do, bud. And it's paid off, right? Like I'm, whatever. But like, you don't put all the energy into somebody else's car. When you're on social media, just scrolling, watching somebody else, just hating, dude, that's energy. And it's a diversion away from the work you can do. And the work, if you fall in love with the work of becoming better, you don't displace the energy into anything else. You realize what that is. It's resistance, and it's resistance to the work. Like, and so instead of hating on where somebody else is, I just look at where I'm at, period, use that energy to focus into where I'm at to build momentum to where it is that I want to go. And there's nothing wrong with being inspired by what somebody else is doing. That's wonderful.
Right.
But when you go from a camaraderie kind of a energy to where, like, I'm pulling for Jason Lake, like I want Jason to win. Like I do anything I can do to help you to win. That's a camaraderie. But when that goes to competition and then you start having a big thing happen, you win the championship or you do your thing. And I'm like, oh man, he did that and I didn't get to do it. Nah, that's a problem. That's displaced energy. And when you really realize time, bud, when you realize how valuable time is, man, you realize how valuable your energy is. I know a lot of people when they're young, they think, oh man, I'm going to live forever. No, it doesn't work that way, Jack. You wake up one day and you'll be like, ooh, takes a lot of energy to get out of bed today. My knees are hurting. Yeah. This happens as we get a little older. And I didn't think that could ever happen to me, but it does. And so it's just really where you direct your energy, man. It really is.
So there is a cost to it. And diving a little deeper into the topic of jealousy, the second pillar here is it's a heart issue. It's deeper than the intellect. We speak from the overflow of our heart is what the good book says. And, I have under that, monitor your words. So this is a heart issue. This is almost a subconscious issue. That you need to actively and intentionally dig out of your life. You got to seek it and you got to carve it out with a scalpel, because when you're stewing in this negativity, you're focusing so much on what other people have that you want, regardless what it is. Your focus is wrong. You're putting gas in the other guy's tank because you're so busy looking at him. We need to figure out, like, what is the root of the issue, and it's a heart issue.
Yeah, it is, man. It's, I think we're made up of three parts, and this is just my idea. I think there's our conscious mind, it's our intellect, right? Then there's our subconscious mind, which is what we'd call the heart, right? And then I think there's this part that's the universal God part that's within us. I'm a Christian guy. I grew up in a Christian home, and I have some, out there beliefs on things, but for me, it's like, I think there's a God component in us. And when we get those three aligned, the head, the heart, and then the God part in us, like, that's where we become incredibly powerful, because we're thinking more abundance, the universe. Like I'm a space guy, working with NASA was the big thing for me because of space. Space is so big. But when you align those things and you're getting out of your head, focus on what somebody else has, and you start operating from a heart place, when, like, if you ever watched a movie before that really kind of touched you, like you're like, oh, wow, you want to cry, and you start wanting to call people you care about and tell them you love them. I could list a whole list of movies, but that's when you start falling into your heart, man. When you start operating from a heart place and you're really kind, that's who we're meant to be. Love is this universal thing. But if you're all in your head comparing what somebody else doesn't have, what happens is, we say it goes from being a critical eye where you can make adjustments. If you stay critical for too long, you develop a critical heart. So you go from a critical eye to a critical heart, and the next thing you know, you become toxic. And so what we have to do is how we speak to ourselves and really put ourselves into places to where we got to get out of this head level intellectual comparison competition. We move more into a connectedness and a beingness. And when you get into that place, man, you're celebrating people that are winning. You're celebrating people in your family. You're serving people. You want to do for other people. And as you do that, it creates, I think, a space around you, Jay. Like when you move more and operate more from your heart, and you're humble because you just realize that you're just lucky to be on this planet and so forth. When you move in that place, man, I think it makes you, I call it stickier. I think it makes you stickier to where good things want to adhere to you. And that's where you can see people when they operate from their heart, man. You can tell it, you can feel it. And if your heart is, subconscious is out through all the negativity you choose to speak to yourself and the stuff that you use to watch and listen to, it's all negative. It messes with your heart, man. And when your heart's out, heart's not in the right spot. But I'm telling you,
and again,
it's the overflow.
Yeah. And again, we've talked about this in multiple episodes, how critical self-talk is. Not just the words you actually verbalize, but the words you say to yourself, into your head to get to this heart issue. And the next bullet point is, how do things get into your heart, right? So you're like, why am I like this? I admit that I have these jealousies and this envy, and I know it's toxic, and I know it's negative, and I know it's diverting my focus. Well, how the hell did I get to this point, right? And we got three things written down, and it's repetition, emotional involvement, and doing to create being. So let's talk about how does repetition start to build your subconscious into your heart?
Yeah, well, what you hear time and time again becomes your truth. So if as a kid, if somebody's told they're stupid and they can't do it and blah, and they hear that over and over again, that becomes their internal voice. And that internal voice is what they hear themselves say, whether they speak it or not. That just gets louder and louder and louder. And that's where, as you said, you get to this place where, how the hell did I get here? Well, it's through repetition. And so, you can do things, practice things. You practice yourself into another level of being. And whatever you're practicing, you're going to become. Practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice does. And a lot of people are perfect at practicing negative self-talk because that's all they've ever known. And so through repetition, you start going, wait a minute, this is how I normally talk to myself. And Jay, what happens, like a lot of times in trainings that I do, I invite somebody up to the front of the room to do something. There might be 100 people in the room at my seminars when we do these. And somebody will walk up to the front of the room and I'll do something with them and they'll take some sort of an action step towards something. And maybe they mess it up, so to speak, from logistics of the exercise.
Right.
And they'll say things to themselves like, man, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. And it's like it just comes out.
Right.
And it's like this little bit of pressure caused you to say something like, I'm so stupid, or I whatever it is. That just shows what's going on underneath. And so the way that we break out of that is, instead of repetition towards the negative thing, the moment we recognize that we're speaking in that negative tone to ourselves or whoever it is we're speaking to, we shift that and go, wait a minute. And we go to the more of the positive words. And that's where we talked about before. It's like when you do something wrong, you say, okay, next time I'll do this. Yeah, and the other one was, when you do it right, you say, yes, this is me. And that's where it's like, I'm kicking ass here. This is me versus I'm kicking ass here, but this ain't going to last. It's like, no, you reaffirm. And that's the repetition part, man. And I'll tell guys that are anybody listening to this that maybe wants a sales career, we're thinking of hiring people, not thinking of, we're doing that right now. But one of the things you do when you get a sales job is they teach you a script, and you have to learn the script through repetition. And the reason you learn the script, Jay, is so that once you've got it in your head intellectually, then it becomes second nature to you. And then your real personality can show, because it's really hard for your personality to show, your heart to show who you are, if you're in your head thinking about what you have to say next. Mm-hmm. And so that's what repetition does. And so the repetition part of it is what gets us into this heart space. The emotional involvement part of it, that's what I touched on a little earlier and said, is that you watch something that causes you to feel good. It's what you put into your mind and into your heart that is these experiences. And in my seminars and trainings, what we do is we put people in these exercises, and the next thing you know, they're getting out of their head and they're repeating things until they're into a heart space, and they start to hear themselves speaking things of affirmation and acknowledgement of people they care about. And that's a different way to live. because then people do get emotional. They start crying. They start, it's an ugly cry, like, oh my God, and they're
Right.
peeling the onion back. And this is the kind of stuff that breaks us out of this old routine of looking at other people and going, well, they got what I don't have, and I should be frustrated.
And that's
When you
doing to create being. Right?
That's it. You practice that, you don't become something that you haven't practiced. Like, you don't get to become something just because you sit around and think about it. You don't get to become a great bicycle rider. You don't get to become a great skateboarder. You don't get to become a great gamer. You don't get to do all those things just by sitting around thinking about it. Everybody's like, Ronnie, I want to be a speaker. I want to be whatever. You got to do something. And when you start doing it, then you start becoming, and then the becoming drives more of the doing. And it's, and I was listening to this guy yesterday talk about working out, and he was like, dude, when people get to this point where they strengthen their core, he said, then everything else gets stronger. He goes, that's the fundamental thing. Everybody wants to get everything else stronger, not get their core stronger. It's like, once you get that right, everything else starts to build much quicker.
Right.
This is what happens when you start practicing the being part. When you start to get the being part, and it becomes second nature to be more grateful in what you have. It's second nature to feel better about what you're doing. It's second nature to want to help people out versus sitting around in your head talking about, well, they shouldn't have that, and I don't have it. Well, you got to do the work. And when you do it, you start to become it. And
right.
That's a whole different, that's what all of this is about, dude.
It's like what you're talking about in the last episode, where you practiced talking to the stuffed animals when you were getting started, and you wanted to practice, speaking in front of large groups. It's like you were doing it, and then over time, through doing it, you became it.
Yeah, it is one of those deals where we call it grounding. We call it, my mentors call it grounding. It's being grounded is where, when you've practiced something for so long, and you've become something, then you can handle whatever gets thrown at you. And life is going to throw things at you. And there's some things that you just can't ever deal with until you have to do it. Like having a kid, like you don't know what it's like to be a parent until you have a kid.
Right.
And life gives you that, right? But by doing the parenting thing, you become a better parent. You don't sit around thinking about, what do I think about being a better, it doesn't work that way. It's like, change the diapers, feed the kid, take care of the kid, get them in the car, get them out of the car, clean them up, you develop the being from the doing. And most people want to be something, Jay, without doing the stuff that's necessary. And in anything that you want to be, it's, you got to do the work when nobody's looking. Muhammad Ali said, look, I became a champion not when the lights were on. Not when I was under the lights, man. I became a champion training sit-ups, push-ups, all the stuff when nobody's looking. And I think we just have this world of comparison and because of social media, and it's great on some levels, man. But you're seeing all the stuff everybody wants you to see.
The highlight films.
It's the highlights. It's like, look at what I'm doing. And it's like, they want you to see that. They want you to see that. But if you see somebody's posting all the time, showing you how great things are, it's like they're posting every hour. It's like, damn, what kind of energy is it that's forcing you to feel like you need to post something all the time? That shows me that something's out. Because I said last time, I think, and the thing is like, make more moves, less announcements.
Right.
It's like, do the work. Stop showing everybody you're going to do the work. Stop name dropping.
100%.
You know what I mean? Stop name dropping and start dropping and doing 50. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a difference. And for me, man, that's the whole through repetition and practice and the emotional involvement, man. Don't be afraid to get in places and have conversations that touch your heart, man. Because when you're there from a heart place, man, you can produce amazing things. And I think that the purpose of this life on this planet, man, without getting too theoretical, I think the purpose is becoming. It's like to let your consciousness and your awareness become more like, I think a godlike consciousness, like the universe, is like become more like that. And you become that through a practice of giving and serving and being kind and encouraging. That's intentionality, man. That to me, that's that's the secret.
And we're talking about the roots of jealousy are really in the heart. And the next point we have here is it's a misaligned focus. And we talked about this a little bit when you're talking about putting gas in the other guy's car, right? We're focused on what we don't have and others do. That's where our focus is. And we're focused secondarily on having things instead of being. Getting back to what we're just talking about, doing, create who you are, what you're becoming, who are you being. So this is a focus issue, and
Right.
and it's about the repetition, the emotional involvement. Your focus is wrong if you find yourself constantly jealous and waiting in this toxicity and negativity and always looking what others have and you don't. Your focus is misaligned.
Yep. So this wonderful quote I read, and it said the worst part of success is when you're trying to find someone who's happy for you. And it's true. I've thought about that, man. Like if you're doing what you're doing for all the pats on the back, you're never going to have enough.
Right.
It's Lady Gaga syndrome. Like, Jay, I've got my phone over here. I can pull up Lady Gaga. I think she get 2 billion followers. How many followers does Lady Gaga have on social media? Like, and I heard somebody say we all have a little Lady Gaga in us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we all want to be 10 billion followers, you know, or whatever. But like, look, man, I'm pulling it up, Jay. Lady Gaga. Right here she is. Look, let's see how many followers she's got. Holy cow, dude. She has almost 82 million followers. Like, and who doesn't want 82 million followers? Like, we all got a little bit of Lady Gaga in us.
I
but here's
don't know,
the deal.
man. I don't know if
Listen,
I want 82 million people knowing who I am.
Yeah, but what it is, man, it's
Right.
that you're thinking that one more follower, one more, you know, trophy, one more pat on the back, one more that a boy, that's gonna be the thing that puts you over, and that the sun is gonna shine down on you, and the rainbow is gonna hit you just in the right place, and life's gonna be good with one more. And then you live this whole thing of one more. I ain't stopping. And you know, dude, I so many young guys, man, I'm in the grind. I ain't gonna stop. Good for you, dude. Grind. But exchange all your health trying to get wealth, and then at the end, when you're old, bent over, stressed out, your kidneys and your insides and your intestines don't work, and because you stressed yourself for all those years and you're trying to buy your health back, it don't work that way. Like at some point, you listen to somebody that's a little older and say, "Hey, slow your roll, man. You know, slow down, smell the roses." You know, that's when we misplace our focus, man. We're putting it on something so far ahead of us that we never slow down and go, "Man, I'm happy with what I have, and this is nice. It's nice." You know what I mean? Sip a cup of tea, cup of coffee, sit around, smoke a cigar. I know you guys, that's my deal. You guys know that, but like sit and smoke a cigar, be with a cigar for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, nowhere else I need to be, just chilling, just enjoying a cigar, enjoying a walk with my daughter around the neighborhood, walking the dog. Like, man, it doesn't get any better than this. And it's like, if I start going, wonder what everybody else is doing, wonder if they're flying on private jets and dancing and partying, like, then I can't even be with my family, because I'm always somewhere with a bunch of people that I'm never really present with. Anyway, that's to me, it was like, it's always one more place to be. And that's your neural pathways start to get set in that, man. The next thing you know, you're never enough. There's always going to have to be one more thing. Well, you know, one more cigar, one more drink to be happy, one more bump of cocaine, then I'll be good. And that's addicted, dude. You get addicted to the one more.
Yep.
Anyway, that's good, dude. That right there. I'm
good.
telling you, Jay, if somebody was smacked somebody upside the face and say, "Hey, look, I know you're unhappy because you're comparing to all these people, and it's not fair. I get it. Nobody told you the damage that social media was going to do, and marketing and all these things. Nobody told you the damage it's going to do, but it's killing you. If you're not having a good experience because you see what all these other people are doing, it may be time to kill your social media before it kills you."
Amen.
And I am, you know what I mean? Like, I am
100%.
totally cool with that, dude. I am totally cool with it. And, you know, it's, anyway, bud, we don't have 2 days to talk just about that.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. If your focus is always on other people and you're not focused on who do you want to be, you know, if you're always focused on what you don't have, and other people have these things, or they lost the weight, or, you know, whatever it is, you have a misaligned focus, and you need to reset. And just so I'm clear, like, I think it's part of the human condition. I think we all, by nature, struggle with jealousy from time to time. That's why you have to be aware of it. You have to think of it. And if you're trying to improve, you're trying to rewire your mind, this needs to be on your list. Take a scalpel and to cut out of your life, and to chop out of your heart the best way you can. Let's keep moving through the outline here. This is our call to action. We always try to give some practical steps for for people who struggle with jealousy in any type of way, there's things we believe you can do. This isn't necessarily an exhaustive list, but we try to give you action items that you can actually do. Like, hey, you know, I am kind of jealous of this and that. And yeah, it does kind of put me in a bad place, and I am a little negative and toxic now that I think about it. But what the heck can I do? First thing we have written down here is, what's your personal why?
Why do you want to do this stuff anyway? Good question.
Yep.
You know, I always say that the key to the door to the next level has got the word question on it, because there's this big vault door to get to the next level. You got to unlock it, and questions can help you unlock stuff. So here's the question. It's like, why are you working so hard for all this anyway? Like, what do you want? And nothing wrong with it, dude. I work hard. I promise you, come to my house, I'll outwork you. I mean, my day jam packed. My friends know this. They're like, man, I ain't keeping up with you. It's like, cool. I do it because I'm aligned with a why. But if my why has to do with everybody else seeing me, paying attention to me, and giving me accolades, then guess what? I'm going to be sorely disappointed when those people don't give me any love or time. And it's like, you know, there's an old quote that you know, what's on the front page of the newspaper today, or that newspaper, is used to align someone's bird cage tomorrow, which means everything that's so important today, tomorrow, it ain't that important. It lines the bird cage, right? You know, to keep poop out of the cage, right? And so things are fleeting, like very quick. They go past. And in our world now, it's like, boom, flash in a frying pan. Wow. You know, isn't this amazing? Isn't this exciting? Well, if I'm doing what I'm doing to get applause from so many other people, the moment I don't get it, I'm upset. And so I have to ask myself, why am I doing this anyway? If it's not for applause, then why am I doing it?
And what are you going to do when you get it?
Yeah, like, it's like, what do you know, what they say, money, it's like the love of money, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like, money shows people more of who they are. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if you weren't generous when you didn't have a lot, you might not be generous when you do have a lot. You know, I've always been a person that gives, man. I tip a lot. I give money. I contribute. I'm a nice dude because I know it's energy. I'd say I'm nice. I could be nicer, I'm sure, as we all could be. But like, if you're looking to gain money and success so you can sit around and flash it in other people's face and go, look what I got, and what you don't got, that's horrible. It's like, really? That's gross to me. So it's like, why am I doing it? Well, I want to do what I do to make a contribution into other people's lives. And if money and resources show up, wonderful. But even if it doesn't, then I'm still focused on serving and doing what I want to do. That's where I find my joy. So it's not about whether somebody gives me something or not. It's about me being smart enough to go, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's where you find the peace, dude. Like, all these great painters, you know what they find out about all these great painters, Picasso, like Leonardo, Da Vinci, these guys, dude, that none of their paintings sold when they were alive.
Right.
But they weren't painting to make money. And then you imagine you got one of a Picasso, you got something by Leonardo da Vinci, like you got stuff. It's like, wow, you know how valuable that stuff is now. But when these dudes were alive, nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth anything at that point. And so you may be a person that's working to go, I want everybody to pay me, and I got to get all these accolades. If that's what you're doing, just know you're probably going to be very, very disappointed.
Yeah. And I think if a lot of your motivation, you know, is quote unquote, you know, fueled or based on jealousy, I think that's the wrong fuel, and that's the wrong foundation for your motivation, right? Yep. Like, you're seeing all these things and you're toxic and you're negative because people have these things, and that's what's fueling your fire. What are you going to do when you get them? Like you said at the beginning of the show, you know, your buddy's got this car, and life would be better if I could only have this car, whatever it is. You know, what are you going to do when you get it? Odds are, if the fuel that, you know, pushed you to kind of go after that thing was based on jealousy and negativity and looking at others, it's going to be a really hollow victory when you eventually get there.
So can I say this, dude? Jen and I went out to dinner the other night here in Scottsdale, and we go down in Scottsdale, man. And where we live, dude, I moved here because of the climate, the rocks, stuff. I didn't move here because there's a lot of people flashing money, because there's a lot of people out here with money. You know what I mean? Like, it's everywhere. Yeah. But Jen and I are at dinner the other night, and we're up at this restaurant. It's called Second Story. and you go up and you're looking down on Scottsdale Road. And dude, we're sitting out there at about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, Jay. And there, everything goes by, like every car you can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's exotics.
It's like that where I work too.
Dude,
Cowboys
crazy.
country. It's like Rolls Royce, Ferrari, Lamborghini.
Yeah. And so let me tell you how this goes. And I want you guys, maybe this will speak to you guys, right? But there was a Lambo. This guy's in a Lambo. I don't think it was. I think it was a Huracan or something. But anyway, and I like Lambos. Don't get me wrong. But Jen and I are sitting up there, and it goes by, and it's like a white Huracan engine. You can hear it coming. It's like, wow, whatever. Yeah. And it goes by, and Jen was like, "Man, you see that?" I was like, "Yeah, it's bad. We saw it, whatever." Well, then the dude circles the block, and he goes by again. And Jen, my wife is a badass, dude. Let me tell you, my wife said, this is what my wife said. Some of you guys need to get to, because my wife is fine. My wife is hot. Right? She's amazing. She's beautiful. But my wife said this. She said, dude, you were cool when you went by one time. She said, but when you circled the block, she goes, I found out something about you. You see what I'm saying? It's like
crying for attention.
Now you're screaming and revving the engine so everybody sees you. And here's the deal. That has to go away, Jay. You rev the engine, everybody looks. And it's like a sugar high. It's like, wow. And then they turn their heads and they're off to the next thing, because that's the society we live in. And man, then it's like more, consume, acquire. And you don't realize that you're caught up in a program of I'm jealous of what I'm not, and thinking it's somebody else, and I die with all the toys. But here's the dude, there's an old proverb that says the king and the pawn go in the box. That means like the game of chess. It doesn't matter.
Can't
when
take
you
it
die,
with you.
You can't take it with you. And so make your life about something where you enjoy it. And you're not going to enjoy it when you're jealous. You say, all right, I can't help it. The hell you can't. You can help it. Put your focus on what you can do with what you have, not what you don't have. And what this dude that leased a Lambo so he could drive up and down the strip for one night, probably. Like you go to Vegas, you see these dudes renting all these exotic cars. It's like, man, I got it. But dude, until you can pay for it cash, maybe you can't afford it.
All right.
What Grant Cardone said, if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. And it's like showy. This is the world we're in. And it's like, nah, man, I've been there, done that. I want to enjoy my life, man. And it doesn't fit when there's jealousy, dude.
And I like this next one. We're talking about a call to action. What steps can you take to kind of, combat and fight back against jealousy in your life? And this is a favorite one of mine. We talked about this afternoon when we did the outline, and it's focus on gratitude and thankfulness. Like, I'm really grateful and thankful that I have two awesome dogs, but sometimes they like to bark at golfers as they walk by. So they're out there barking now. So if you hear that, my apologies. But seriously, sometimes as humans, and jealousy plays a part of this, we pay way too much attention to what we don't have, and we don't make a conscious effort to be grateful and thankful for what we do. And every once in a while, when I find myself in a funk, and I think we all go through them, I intentionally sit down and I go through as many things as I can conjure up in my brain about what I'm thankful for. And I start with, hot showers, air conditioning, cold water, like basics. Because I tell you what, if you're in the middle of Africa, you don't have air conditioning, all of a sudden that's a priority. Or if you're up in Alaska in the winter and you don't have warm water to take a shower, it sounds stupid. It's a big ass deal. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
And then I go to, I can see. I have a couple blind friends. I can hear. I don't have any deaf friends, but I imagine what the challenges that would present. And I have an awesome wife. I have two healthy, wonderful kids. And I just, I have a job. I have great friends. I have great coworkers. And by the time I've spent 20 minutes literally listing every single thing that I can think of that I'm grateful for in my life, I'm feeling pretty dang good. And I do this often to try to keep myself grounded, to try to keep, jealousy at bay when, the Lambos are going by or whatever. I'm not really a Lambo guy, but you understand what I'm saying. There's always something that's kind of got the glimmer in your eye, and then you start to think, oh, maybe I should have that, or I wish I could have that. Well, first, I think it's really important to always be intentionally grateful and thankful for what you do have, because I think that is an action step to combat jealousy in other people.
Yeah. If you sit down and start writing out what you have and what you're grateful for, dude, it can snowball. And there's things that look at, dude, I just grabbed this water. I'm grateful that there's water. You go when there's no water, man, nowhere to drink.
You wish you had
Dehydration,
water.
dude, it kill you. Oh my God. Dude, I've been there. And you're grateful for the fact that you can lift your arm to pick up a bottle of water.
100%.
You start thinking about that stuff like, oh, wow. And I have my mental faculties to be able to put the lid on and take it back off. I'm doing something that, man, instantly, like robots couldn't do, there's things that
Absolutely.
computers can't do. Like when you start thinking like, oh man, I got so much to be grateful for. And when you start listing those things, Jay, what we talked about earlier, you move from your head, you start moving down to your heart. Man, you get emotional. You start writing out all the things that you have. See, the problem with people sometimes that I believe complain about the country, and there's so many things about this country that are jacked up because people that call themselves leaders are jacked up and greedy and a-holes. But I think on some level, when we complain about things, we don't know sometimes the price that people have paid for that. And, when we have people that have died for freedoms and have gone out and fought against enemies and so forth, we don't know what that was like. I haven't gone to war. I don't know what it's like, what was in D-Day in Normandy and people getting, mowed down with 50 caliber on, these guys had kids back home. I don't know what that's like. And so to sit around and go, man, this world sucks. The country sucks. It's like, well, maybe I get it. There's a lot of stuff out, but there's also a lot of things in it that we could be grateful for, and grateful for the freedom to be able to complain. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
To be able to say what you want to say without having somebody, dude, we get into so many conversations about that. But when you start looking at things you do have to be grateful for, our nanny, it's our babysitter. She's from Rwanda, and dude, she's one of the kindest and sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life. And when she was 4 years old, her parents were murdered. Her parents were murdered in front of her during the genocide. It was 100 days where 800,000 people were killed in Rwanda. And dude, she was orphaned, her and her sister, and they're here now. And she's married and she's amazing. My kids love her and she helps out. And we met her through a friend. And dude, she's so kind and so grateful and so generous and so sweet. And it's like she went through all that and saw that. And now she's here being kind and making a difference and going after her goals. Her and her husband, he's in school. And it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you think about people that have really dealt with some tragedies, great friend of mine, Kevin, we've been friends. He lives here in Arizona. He's lost his son in an automobile accident here 20 some years ago. Brandon was 9. He had twin boys, had a car accident that killed Brandon in the back seat. And man, dude, my daughters are 11 and 6. I know what it feels like to love something more than yourself, and you love a kid, and to imagine that happening. But Kevin is one of the kindest, most awesome dudes you'll ever meet. And he doesn't quit. The dude will outwork you. He's up, he's committed, he's disciplined, and he's been through hell. And this is what I think we can look at in our life and go, you know what? I'm looking at what I don't have, but there's so many great things that I do have.
Exactly.
And that's the deal, man. That's the work. And when people are willing to do that work, Jay, when you get around these people, man, you can tell people that have worked on their generosity, that have focused on what they had to be grateful for. And it's a different energy than this fly by night, flash in the frying pan. I'm going to get this no matter what. And I don't care who I run over because I don't care. It's all about me. Dude, we don't need more of that, man. We
Absolutely.
don't need, I'd rather die than live like that. And that, to me, these are things that if we can remind ourselves of, it helps to anchor us to something better, man.
Absolutely
really
agree. Let's keep moving. These are action steps to combat jealousy in your life and the negative toxicity that accompanies jealousy. The next one is refocus your time and energy on your improvement versus what others are doing, with the subnote of you don't know their story.
Yep. So it's the old saying, don't start your day till you finished it. This helps in so many different areas, man. Don't start your day till you finished it. Meaning I know the outcomes that I want to create for my day, and I'm focused on that. I'm not focused on whatever pops up on my feed, what notification, what email, whatever somebody else trying to do. And, you know, I'm focusing my time on what I can do and what I can get done. Yeah. And so to me, man, that's a self-discipline. That's a time management. That's putting an energy into an outcome that excites you about you. And that's when you take ownership of that, that's where you're pulling up your car to the gas tank and you're putting gas in your car to be able to go and get to where you need to get to. And, you know, without it, man, all your energy gets dispersed into too many different things, and you don't have the energy to exercise. You don't have the energy to read. You don't have the energy to write. You don't have the energy to practice something, because all your energies are dispersed in all these other things because you didn't focus it down on what you can do. And that phrase, man, don't start your day till you finished it, right? To me has been one of the most powerful things that I could do. Somebody asked me this morning, a guy that I coach early, he's like, Ronnie, give me a little bit snippet of your day. And I said, bud, when I get up in the morning, I spend time in the morning figuring out what I want to create in my day. And if I get up and I know there's not going to be time to do it early in the morning, I'll make sure that I've spent some time the night before writing out, getting clear on what my day is going to look like next, because I want to take ownership of that day. I don't want somebody else owning it. I don't want some emotion that's a knee-jerk emotion because I'm comparing to what somebody else has. I don't want that to own me. I want to own it, you know? So, and that's big for me, man, in any area. Jealousy, you know, just self-discipline and consistency, man, that breeds and fuels so much more confidence. And when you're confident in you, you don't have to be worried about what anybody else is doing. So
focus on what you're doing. Worry less about being jealous about what others are doing. I love you don't know their story. And I put in here the frequent flyer analogy. Hold on, let me grab some right here on my bookcase. Ronnie can't see it, but I'll show the chat. You know, a lot of times we look at something other people have. It could be small, it could be large, and we think, man, that is the best. But it's important to realize the grass is not always greener. You don't know their story, what they had to go through to get this thing or this title or this job or whatever you are jealous of that you feel you want or you deserve. And, you know, so I'm using a frequent flyer analogy because before 2020, I used to fly a lot. And on American Airlines, they got this thing, and I'm holding up a special book I got called Concierge Key. Now, Concierge Key is invitation only for people that spend way too much time on their airline. And I got this cool metal thing that I have on my briefcase, this Concierge Key on it, and the metal is actually made from I think it's a 767 that they decommissioned, and it's even got the tail number of the plane. So they took the metal off this plane and made these special badges. People that fly a lot, Concierge Key is like the dream. I could go on for 20 minutes how good they treat me. One time I called Ronnie. I was so jazzed because I flew back from the Middle East. I went through London, and I got off my plane in London, and they met me at the plane, and they walked me down and took me in a private shuttle all the way across London Heathrow to my other gate so I wouldn't have to go through the airport and waste 45 minutes of my time. Like, the list of, like, benefits and how you are treated when you receive Concierge Key is like out of a movie. So it'd be easy for people that are sitting on a plane, and everybody's been here, right? You're sitting close to somebody and they come over to some other person. They say, hey, you've been upgraded to first class or whatever. Come on up. Be like, damn, I wish I could be in first class. So the reason for this long analogy is sometimes when you see that guy upgraded to first class, you see these perks and these benefits, you know, and this is analogous to a lot of things in life. You think, man, I wish I had that, and you could become jealous. But let me tell you something. If you had any concept of how many flights it takes how much money it takes, how many layovers you had, how many times you missed family dinner because the flights were late, how many storms got you circling the airport for hours and hours and you haven't slept in a day and a half. If you had any idea how jet lagged you are going to Europe over and over and over for business, and it's not fun business to where you get to see the tourist sites. You fly all the way to Paris, you go to a hotel ballroom, you have 30 hours of meetings, and then you go back to the airport, got to fly all the way back, and when you land, you go back to the office. So what I'm getting at is people might look at the perks and they might look at the upgrades and they might look at all these things, but they don't know the story. You don't know what that person had to go through to get it. And there's a damn good chance, quite often, you might take a look at the price and be like, you know what? I don't want it anymore. The grass isn't always greener. It's like, yes, this person has this thing and I'm kind of jealous of it, but you don't know the price that was paid. And if you did, you might be like, oh, hell no. I'm not jealous anymore because there ain't no way in hell I'm going through all of that to get this fancy black concierge thing and the key and all that. It's like, I'd rather be home with my family. I'd rather sleep in my own bed. I'd rather not know, I'd rather know what time zone I'm in instead of looking around like, because you don't even know what time it is or where you're going or where you came from. So that's my frequent flyer analogy. A lot of times I think we're so busy focusing on these things, or these positions, or these relationships that other people have. You don't always know what's going on in their world or what it costs to get those things. And sometimes I think if you knew what it cost, you'd be kind of happy you didn't have to pay that cost and not jealous of that thing anymore. Anyway, end of frequent flyer rant. I haven't been on a plane in too long.
Listen, let me put some icing on that cake because it's so true. You wouldn't believe the times I've been in first class and look over and I'm like, oh, I'm by far the youngest dude in first class. And I talk to these guys on the plane, man, up in first class, and they're like business travel dudes. And they've put in the time, man. You can see they're tired, dude. It's like we think, oh, first class, it's these people taking their family on vacation and all that. And it is not that way, man. Like when I take my family, we're not all flying in first class, man. The four of us, man, we got a row to ourselves in the back, and that's enough. But dude, I'm not, it's like if people really knew, and I know we're talking a lot of younger people watching this. It's like if you knew that the sacrifice that people put in, the emotional, like heart, it's emotionally exhausting. All of it, man. Being an entrepreneur, I own my business. Nobody tells me what to do, but you know what? I work for the people that hire me in a sense. And so I have, I got to get up early and get things done. And there's a pressure. And I think people just don't understand all that's to it. So it's like, man, if I can just celebrate anybody that's winning at all, it's like, man, you bought that new car. Hell yeah. Good for you, dude. Like whatever it is. Cause I know on some level you probably, unless you won the lottery, but what's that one? What are the chances, right? But unless you won a lot, you probably put in a lot of time. And if you didn't put in a lot of time and it's a fly by night thing and you got it, you're probably going to lose it, which is going to suck for you because, whatever. But like, man, there's always an exchange, man. The word sacrifice, the word exchange, there's so much to it. And you can look, man, I can look back at pictures, Jay. My wife and I, we got pictures, albums. I can look back at times when I first started traveling. All these people were like, man, you getting to see the world. You've been going to all these places. Dude, I was tired. Jay, I was 25 pounds lighter than I am now. 30 pounds, wanting eating good, sleeping in airports, not sleeping at all, running to one hotel, like you're going into Paris or somewhere like you said. I could see the inside of a hotel and then be out and be gone, get home, want to crawl in bed and stay in bed for 3 days. My kid hadn't seen me. My wife hadn't seen me. There's exchanges that go on, man. So you 100%. Don't need to be comparing to what anybody else is doing, man. You get in your lane, you work your ass off, do the best you can do with what you got. Keep your focus on that. It'll keep you full versus running around empty. And that's a terrible feeling, dude.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Well, we're hitting up on an hour here, so let's finish up our action points. About focusing on you, not focusing so much energy and attention to create jealousy amongst other people. And that's nourish your mind. We touch on this in different episodes. I think we can get through it pretty quickly. But you gotta, what are you consuming? Both mentally, physical nutrition, what movies are you watching? What music are you listening to? And we talk about this all the time, and it's filtering your thoughts, man. And you can't allow yourself to focus on these jealous thoughts. We cannot control what thoughts bombard us during the day. We can control which ones that we coddle, and we pet and we feed and we nourish, and then they get bigger and then they get bigger and then we're dwelling more on them. Screen your thoughts. Don't give a minute to jealousy and becoming resentful and bitter about what other people have that you think you want. You got to get away from it, and you have to nourish your mind and your body with proper mental and nutritional diets.
Yeah. Think about it. If you were to take a spoon and all you ate was processed sugar, seriously, for like, if that's all you ate, like you didn't even eat anything else. You weren't even eating ice cream, which is made of sugar. I'm talking about all you ate was sugar. What do you think that would do to your physical body? Right. You'd be so sick. I mean, it would, whatever. Your body is what you eat. So your body's made up of two things: what you consume and what you think about. That's your body. That's it. Because if you start getting off on your thinking, it's going to mess your body up. You start getting off on what you consume, what you put in your body, it's going to mess you up. And so think about that. It's like, then if that's the way it works, then why would I ever put anything into my body or into my mind that's going to mess me up? Like, it's hard enough, even when you put good things into your body and your mind, to create this success when you're talking about this, big level of comparison and jealousy and all that stuff. It's hard enough, even when you're in the right frame of mind, to create those things. But when you're putting negative stuff in, yeah. Like I don't listen, dude, I don't watch soap operas. I don't listen to hardcore heavy metal music they tell addicts coming out of rehab, don't listen to heavy metal music. Don't, whatever. It's like, don't get in relationships with people that are addicts or recovering addicts at the same time. These are some things that they tell them, why you got to protect you. And if you put negative stuff in, man, negative stuff starts coming out. You start fueling your brain with negativity. It's like, my daughter Addison will watch when she was, a baby, she watched these little shows like Dora the Explorer. And Dora, there was these songs in Dora the Explorer, Jay, and I just hear them. I didn't really watch Dora the Explorer with her that much, but I'd wake up in the middle of the night singing the Dora the Explorer song. Oh, and it's like, how did this? I'm mad.
Don't get me started on Diego. And, yeah, man. I heard them all. I had my kids
and through that repetition, these things stick with you, dude. Yes. So if you put this stuff in that fuels this negative voice, it sticks with you. So you got to be smart enough to go, that ain't helping me. What is going to help me? Putting something in that makes you smile, something that makes you feel good. Watching a movie that listen, we hadn't done this yet, but we'll start doing this. I'll start sharing some of the things that have really touched my life. Some of the movies, some of the books. There's a book that we were talking about repetition earlier. There's a great book. This guy named Joshua Medcalf. He wrote a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water. Simple principles, dude. Simple principles in Chop Wood, Carry Water, but it's rich. It's so good. There's so many books we'll share. And one of my favorite movies, Patch Adams, Robin Williams. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Goes to medical school, UVA. I mean, just incredible. Watch Patch Adams. It'll touch your heart, man. Yep. It'll start putting you in a different place. And this is what you're feeding yourself.
Consume
if you feed yourself good stuff,
build you up. Good stuff.
Build you. Good stuff, man. And let me throw this in here, Jay, because sometimes jealousy, since it's an energy, and I know we're moving on, but let me say it's an energy. You ever been in a place where you felt a little more paranoid, a little more anxious than normal?
Right.
I started feeling that more and more with the stresses. I coach so many different people, and I'm hearing things a lot and working on things. And I got to a point where I said, you know what? I need to be more calm. I need to be more grounded, more centered, be able to meditate and breathe, deep breathing and all these different things. You know what I did? I cut caffeine out of my diet. I cut caffeine out. Now I have some coffee in the morning. That's it. But I used to be, coffee in the morning, pre-workout drink, some more coffee, a Red Bull if I needed it, and all that stuff. And I'm wired, jacked up. But what I noticed, dude, is I started to get like kind of manic in my thinking. Like I could turn a little molehill into a mountain.
Right.
Like, oh, wonder what they said, what they meant, all that stuff. And it triggered me and all that stuff. And what I did, dude, I started, there's a gap. I'm going to tell you, if you can endure the gap of I'm getting this out of my system, there's going to be a time where you feel like you're lagging. But if
Yeah.
you can get that out, then you get back to more clear thought. You'll find that you're not as anxious and you're not as worried about what everybody else is doing. You're not as paranoid. And that to me was important, dude. And I think that's a feeling. It's an energy. And that's one of them, man. You know? So anyway, that was another action step. Cut out caffeine. I'm serious. You want to try it? Cut out caffeine. Somebody listen to this, be like, cut out caffeine. I couldn't do it. Well, that's your problem. Then you're addicted. Cut it out of your life. See how you feel after a couple of weeks. Incredible difference. Okay.
The last step we have towards kind of reining in and combating jealousy are relational boundaries. And this is another one that we mentioned in a lot of different shows. You'll see a lot of themes as you're learning to rewire your mind and to try to improve and to try to be better and to try to grow and to try to mature, because the core themes translate across a lot of these topics. Relational boundaries, who is in your inner circle, really important stuff.
Yeah, your circle gets smaller, it gets stronger. You know, you got to be careful who you got around you. And here's the thing with that too, man. You got to be careful who you are. We say you want to have a friend, you got to be a friend. I don't want, I don't want people around me that are negative. I don't want people around me that are haters. I don't want people around me that gossip, right? I don't want that. So if I don't want that, don't you think other people probably don't want that? I mean, of high quality that are getting things done, don't you think they're probably feeling the same way too? So if you're negative and you're gossiping and all that stuff, they're probably not going to want you around. So it's kind of like you're kind of butting heads against each other and pushing each other out of your inner circles. Yep. And so it's like, well, what do I want in my inner circle? I want things and people that nourish me, that have some insights and some values, people that are reading some books and are having some experiences that are more positive. And that's who we got to practice being. And so I have no problem, Jay, and we'll hear this, and I want somebody to hear it, because I've heard my mentor used to say, if you don't hear something 7 times, you don't really know it. It takes 7 times to get it. I will tell people no quickly, because I have to take care of my circle. I got to take care of me and take care of my mind and my heart. And so if somebody's, wanting to do this, wanting to do that, and I'm like, I can't do it.
And I don't want jealous people in my life, man. The people that are close to me in my inner circle, I want them to be the kind of people that celebrate the successes of others. Truly and genuinely celebrate it. When someone in your industry has a big win or whatever it is, celebrate them. Don't be just bitter and grinding your teeth and jealous like it could have been me or whatever. No, celebrate them. Put that out into the universe. Put that energy in that aura out, because I always believe, man, what comes around goes around. And if you're the kind of person who's bitter and jealous and just resentful of other people's success, like, you're never going to be in my inner circle either. Celebrate the success of others, and for Pete's sake, avoid jealousy. And hopefully these are some action steps that can help our audience start to carve it out of your life and move on. We're just over an hour, so we're going to cut it off for YouTube. Please click subscribe, leave us your comments. I go back through as often as I can and read those and reply to as many people as I can get to. We really do appreciate it. We filmed this show on my Twitch, which is Jason BW Lake, same as the YouTube. Let us know. You can tweet at me, tweet at Ronnie. Our Twitters are right there on the screen, and we do appreciate you going on this journey with us. We hope that if we can help you in any way, that you would pass it forward and rewire your brain. But until next time, we'll see you. Be good, Ronnie.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to y'all soon.
I hope our fans are ready for a wild ride. Juggernaut or not, we're here to kick some ass.
If you say you just can't take any more, all you're really saying is I just don't want to go any higher.
Failure is not the opposite of success. It's only part of it.
And you kept fighting, and you kept fighting, and you kept fighting. That's all I ask from you guys ever.